of all, standing up globally. This is not just in America. You know, people everywhere are feeling like this, not just here. So we're not only talking about America's people, we're talking about people, period. There's a picture that leaked out with an American soldier standing over a child that got killed in Africa, like it was a deer. So what you're saying in our society,
Afghanistan, Puerto Rico, you can find that picture everywhere. You're right.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is now, today, if we were to bring your flag, the people's flag, and other nationalities' flag, and we come together with a solution under those banners.
We can do it.
Not in hatred.
We can do it.
Not in anger.
We can do it.
Not in foolishness.
We can do it.
I'm saying, but where do we supposed to start with that? What do you believe we're supposed to start with that?
You call for it. You. Don't look at me. Don't ask me. You got the answers. You call for it. You demand a forum that we sit down and talk about this thing.
I got you.
See, but here's the thing about it is this here. For the Southland of America, folks don't want dialogue. You know, I went to Black History Month. I went to a school that said, Christ School. The first thing the man came out there with me, he came out and started cursing me. I said, wait a minute, hold it. It's Black History Month. You need to talk about Levi Carnine and Hope Collier and Rev. Mac Lee. You need to talk about those black men who look like me that put on this uniform and carry this flag. Why? You need to talk about them. They should have a place in history. You know what he did? He cursed me and went back into the place, and 5 minutes later, here came two white men. And since what they said, I'm standing next to a sign that says, State Road Maintenance ends here. That means that this is my First Amendment place. I have a right to be here. He sent two men out and told me, look, you've been told to leave. It's time for you to go. And we're going to make sure that you go. Put a sign on the school that says Christ School. Christ was about love. I'm going to have to tell you about that. Even if you're Muslim, that's what he's supposed to have been about, was love. Now, we're supposed to have a dialogue. You tell me, well, I don't want you standing out here because we can't even get class started. All the babies want to talk about is you being out here with that flag. Well, it's Black History Month. We need to have a dialogue about that flag. You can't keep persecuting the whole region of people. You can't keep calling the white folks in the Southland of America devils and evil and all. These are people who cared for us. You didn't want to go to Vietnam. You didn't want to go to Iraq. You didn't want to invade other people's countries. But you were American. And the president, the commander-in-chief called, and he said, I need for you to go. Whether you like all those people that protested the Vietnam War, they had a right. It was their American right to do so. They didn't want anything about it, but you go tell the Vietnamese, that same baby laying over there on the ground, with an American soldier standing over that baby. You go tell that Vietnamese mama that you didn't have anything to do with it. She's gonna tell you you are an American. You should have stood up. You should have done something. The same thing that you just said to me. We need to have a dialogue.
So what do you think about the global situation of the indigenous people of their continents and cultures being disrespected at hand where we are now today in our society? What do you think about that? What could we do as a society, not a people to come together in hatred and anger, saying, blurting names at each other, but quotes of understanding and solution on the table where we can evolve as a nation, not as a people of hatred and division amongst one another.
We need to come and get you. We need to come and get you. We need for you to tell us, how do we have that dialogue? You need to come and tell us where we begin to start. It don't start just with me. It starts with you, with the passion in your heart about all the indigenous people of the world. You ought to be talking about it. You ought to run for United States Congress. You ought to run for president. I'll listen to your voice. There are people who will listen to what it is that you have to say. We need to come together and talk. Same thing with this flag. You cannot come here and bastardize my flag. And I'm not saying you personally. You can't come here and tell lies about my flag. You can't come here and tell a lie and say that this flag caused a baby to walk in and kill somebody. It did not. This is as you told me, this is an honorable Christian. Let me say this too. Go and get your thought in.
So you don't believe
the NAACP.
He was involved, or maybe it inspired him?
No, I do not. Because if he had come to a Sons of Confederate Veterans meeting where he would have been inspired by anything with this flag, he would have learned that black folks earned a place of honor and dignity under this flag. He would have learned that black folks made all the implements of war, provided all the food stuff with General Lee's belief. Wait a minute. This is what he would have learned. He would have learned about those 42 black men that rode with General Nathan Bedford Forrest, and the General Nathan Bedford Forrest said to them, no better Confederate ever lived than those black men who rode with me. He would have learned about Horace King and all those other folks.
God bless that man's heart that went in that church and did what he did. And we had families out here the other day, and they have that emotion in their heart. They have that pain in their heart.
And they said, we forgive him.
A lost one. And yes, we have to forgive him. We have to pray on that situation.
Absolutely.
We have to walk in faith on that situation.
Absolutely.
But there's another thing that needs to be said, though. You know, what do you think about the recording of the Confederate Klan group coming out of North Carolina?
See,
listen.
Don't call them a Confederate Klan group. No. Because I don't consider them a Confederate
Clan they considered themselves.
And let me tell you something.
But they, pardon myself, sir.
Go ahead.
They have a recording congratulating them. Congratulating him and say they need more people like that. And they're going to come here on the 18th. So is that good for our nation?
No, it's not.
If they can congratulate somebody that martyrs, that's terrorism, right?
Let me ask you a question.
That's no different than ISIS.
Let me ask you a question. Look at me. You asked me the question. Let me answer your question. You cannot find anybody in the Sons of Confederate Flag. I would guarantee you 99% of people in this community love this flag, support this flag. You will not find any one of them that will condone what that boy did. Now, let me tell you something. If the Ku Klux Klan truly love this flag, like they have every right to love it because their ancestors fought and died on it, as well as mine. I can't take that from them. But they know how bad their image is. If the Ku Klux Klan truly loved this flag, they would stay away from it. They wouldn't even show up because they know the kinds of things that they have done and caused here in America.
And that's why we're here, brother.
Well, but you're assassinating my flag. That does not.
People who don't have all the knowledge and wisdom.
That's why we're here talking.
To share that.
You said we must come together and talk about
sir.
it. And I love you for that.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
My name is H.K. Edgerton.
How do you spell the last name?
Edgerton. My website is www.southernheritage411.com.
Okay. And who are you, sir?
My name is Jalaluddin Abdul Hamid.
H.K. Edgerton.
How will I spell that? I know that's a long name, but I want to get it right.
Jalaludin. ABDUL-HAMID. It means strength and power.
What title in this setting would you? Are you just here individually, or?
I represent different nationalities, different brothers, decisions that we all know each other from the neighborhoods, from different states, from working with each other. Like he said, you know, I know brothers who have that flag and they put it on their head, and they eat lunch with me. We eat lunch together. You know what I'm saying? But we're not hating each other, you know what I'm saying? So, but there's a lot of knowledge that needs to be shared for the youth that don't understand.
Absolutely.
He has a point where he's coming from where he know that that flag means more than just hate.
Yes.
And I have to respect that because I know that knowledge is real.
But you want to see the flag come down.
Sir, to be honest with you, do you know how I got involved in this?
I don't.
I was jogging on through and somebody made a hatred slur about Yankees. And I said, that's not going to help the solution. We're going to bury 3 people today. And they surrounded me, 40 Confederates surrounded me right here and debated for about an hour and a half. Some said some hatred things to me, but the Holy Spirit got his own way. And God got his own hand where he needs his hand at. So it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So I smile at that. You know, we're going to smile at the envy in the biblical terms.
And the same thing that happened to you happens to me. Happens to me every day. You know, as soon as I show up with my flag, everybody don't love me. I get people who come up to me. I was called a traitor yesterday. A black man came up to me yesterday as I stood over the Interstate 240 right outside my home and said, "You a traitor." I'm like, wait a minute, how do you figure I'm a traitor? Where you from? I'm from New Jersey. Well, okay, you can feel like that. Had he said he was from South Carolina, I would have been, wait a minute now, let's examine who the real traitor is.
New Jersey guy? They in New Jersey too, sir.
Well, I know.
I'm from Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Well, see, I taught basic and advanced electronics in Fort Monmouth, New Jersey.
Did you make the trip down for this, or do you live here?
No, you know, I live here. My family's from here. You know what I mean? But, you know, we got family all over the country.
He's Southern to the bone. I tell you Southern. He got to fight like a Southerner. He would have been, I'm going to tell you something right now. if war had started today, you know where he would have been? He would have been in a Confederate uniform, and he would have been just like Volcott. He would have been one of the baddest Confederate soldiers out there. He would have been the man that I would have come to if I wanted to go to a real battle and watch my back. It would have been him. I don't care what he said. Look at the way he's looking at me.
Would he have a choice? Would he have a choice at that time?
He would have had a choice.
Really?
Yes, he would have had a choice. Now, there were some Confederate soldiers, black and white, that were paid by their own. That's why they said it was a rich man war. They were paid. They were.
Okay.
But let me tell you something. When that baby boy, 10 years old, put on a Confederate uniform and went off to be the color bearer, his mama looked right around the corner and said, Jedediah, come here. You go with him, because they were childhood friends. And I want you to write me and tell me if he's down there in that camp gambling and shooting dice and womanizing. Now, wait a minute, how could Jedediah do that? How could he write her a letter? She knew he could write a letter because she taught him how to read and write, and he was there. And that's what I'm trying to say now. Nobody talks about the black Confederate soldier. Nobody talks about those women like Minerva, who was a body servant to General Hunt Morgan. Nobody talks about those black women who made all the gunpowder, made the uniforms. They don't talk about that place of honor that we earned here in the Southland of America. They don't talk about this was our family. In lieu of the economic institution of slavery that the whole world was complicit in.
We're going to have to duck out. Thank you, Joe.
God bless you, sir. Thank you for interviewing us.